Well, ever since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Moscow has been using old tankers of uncertain ownership to dodge Western sanctions and keep oil revenues flowing. When these aging vessels reach the end of their life, they can't enter the regular scrap market. So how do you scrap a fleet that operates off the books? Well, the answer, of course, is in secret and often very dangerously. This is the Eagle S, which is being dismantled at the Turkish point of unclear. The oil tanker is suspected of damaging undersea cables in the Gulf of Finland last December. Cranes are disassembling and removing its parts. Other ships in the fleet are scrapped on the beaches of South Asia by workers using little more than hand tools. Elizabeth Braw has looked into this. She's a senior fellow with the Atlantic Council's Transatlantic Security Initiative in the Scowcroft Centre for Strategy and Security. Welcome back to DW. Writing in Politico, you've described the emergence of a shadow ship-breaking market. At what point did you realise this wasn't just a handful of isolated cases, but actually an organised system?
I realized that this was something that I needed to look at when the shadow fleet, the Russian shadow fleet, or Russia's expansion of the shadow fleet, turned the shadow fleet into a significant portion of the global shipping fleet, and especially the global tanker fleet. And if you think about it, because these vessels are typically very old, the vessels that sail in the shadow fleet, they are bound to have to retire very soon. They are sold into the shadow fleet when they are retirement age, but that means that they are going to die, as it were, pretty soon. And so I started thinking about where are these ships going? And I started worrying about will the owners just leave them in the waters of countries like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Sweden, Finland, for them to have to then worry about. And then I discovered that there has emerged this shadow shipbreaking market.
So tell us about the sort of numbers we're talking about. How many of these vessels are out there being scrapped outside the official market?
So the official shipbreaking market is about 400 vessels a year. And when I hesitate to call it official because it is sometimes pretty shadowy, but it is still official. So that's about 400 vessels a year. And then if you look at the shadow vessels, we're looking at several dozen more vessels. And what makes this so concerning is that the official shipbreaking market or sector doesn't operate primarily in countries that pay a great deal of attention to the environment and workers' safety. So countries like Denmark, Norway, Netherlands, that's the fewest vessels that get scrapped there. Most of them, as you said in your introduction, get scrapped on beaches in places like India, Pakistan and Bangladesh, in fact, in those three countries. And if you add to that, then the unofficial side of it, the shadow vessels that get disassembled in places like that, but without any official cover to it, or not cover, any official functions to it, then you realize this is kind of dangerous.
And what is it then? What is it about breaking ships? Because the whole thing, you make the whole thing just sound completely dodgy, whether it's shadow vessels or not. And what is it about this industry that seems to attract this murkiness?
It is the fact that nobody likes to talk about death. That is the basic fact. And nobody likes to think about what will happen to a product or indeed a human at the end of their lives. And so when we look at how we throw things away here in the West, we just throw them in bins. Hopefully we put them in recycling bins. But when it comes to ships, it's just not an attractive business to be in. It's very, very dirty. It is dangerous. And like most other items that we discard, it gets taken care of somewhere else. We don't want to see it. And so when it comes to shipping, there are some well-behaved companies that make sure their ships are broken in or disassembled and scrapped in Denmark or Norway and Netherlands, places like that. But that's more expensive. So most sell their ships to middlemen who then bring them to these other places, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. And then there is this sort of safe distance between the original ship owners and the people who then essentially carry out the funeral.
Right. And the usual tactic when you're trying to trace owners of things is to follow the money. If these ships are being broken up, they're being paid to be broken up. Is it possible to do that in this murky industry?
Well, the official side of the shipbreaking industry is possible to trace, and there are NGOs that do incredible work. There's one, for example, dedicated only to this. It's called NGO Shipbreaking Platform. So there are investigators on the NGO side, or indeed with different countries' authorities, that do follow the official shipbreaking cycle or shipbreaking practices by following the money. But when it comes to the shadow vessels, obviously, because most of these vessels are sanctioned, or the majority and an increasing number of them are sanctioned. So that makes it very difficult to conduct any transactions involving them in Western currencies, because if a ship is sanctioned, you can't conduct any business relating to it in dollars or euros or pounds. So then you will turn to crypto and other currencies, which makes it even harder to figure out how the workers are treated and who they are, who the workers that disassemble these ships. So it is an unintended consequence of what was a really good measure, a measure to limit Russia's ability to earn money on its oil. They created the shadow fleet, and now it's creating this shadow market for shipbreaking.
Thanks for talking us through that, Elizabeth. Elizabeth Braw from the Atlantic Council.
Thank you.